Alrighty, people.
Alrighty,
We
here we
are a
go.
little bit late, but we are here. We just wrapped up recording some final content for this week, so thank you for your patience. But we are ready to hang out with y'all for quite some time and to help some people's dynasty teams, give them some advice and what direction to go. Maybe a little reality check of where they stand in their league and what directions could be the most beneficial for them moving forward. Do us a massive favor. If you're with us, go ahead and smash that like button. Such a simple way for you to support the channel. We see you guys in the chat. The Roll, Waffle Boy, Ricky, FR. He says, come on, lads. Running a little bit late. Yes, we were, unfortunately. We see you, Jimmy. We see you, CB. We see you, Tyson. We see you guys in the chat. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What is up, G Money? We see y'all. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. Now, let's just start from the beginning and get everyone on the same page as to what the point of today's stream is. In today's stream, we are going to be reviewing teams from people who are supporting us on the Mother Flocker tier over on the Flock Fantasy website. Now, if we have time at the very end of the stream, we would love to do a Q&A. We'll have to wait and see what that looks like. But in today's stream, our goal is to give back to the people who are supporting us over on the Flock Fantasy website and to help review their team and to give them some direction moving forward, some moves that we might make if it were our team, let's say. So that's the kind of goal for today. And I will just say that if anyone out there wants this same process for them done, then it's actually quite simple. All you need to do is use the promo code LAND, sign up to the Flock Fantasy website, sign up to the Mother Flocker tier, and then we'll be looking at your team this time next week. Again, all you need to do, sign up with the promo code LAND on the Flock Fantasy website. Link is in the chat. Become a Mother Flocker, and you'll unlock this ability this time next week. But the first team that we are reviewing in the year of 2024 is Mr.
Here we go.
Keeves, Mr. mrkvs. Thank you so much for your support on the Flock Fantasy website. Very kind of you to support the channel. But he says, happy holidays, because this was on the 5th of January that this was originally posted. He says, I'm Kyler Wren. He gave us his sleeper ID. I'm Kyler Wren. It's a 12-team, full PPR, half tight and premium, SuperFlex start 11. I'm going to plan on competing next season. Maybe not hard compete, but at least try to build a competitive team. My team is a 101. My first is a 101, excuse me, and the other one is the 112. I'm considering trading my 101 for a haul, but will wait till draft season. I've checked with other top 5 pick owners, and no one wanted to move up. I'm wondering what moves I should be making now. Who should I be looking at moving on from? Okay, so this person's goal is to be a competitive team. I think he knows that he might not be the best team in his league by the way he stated, the context. And he wants to know what sort of moves he might be able to make to achieve that goal. And we'll talk about the 101 as a trade option as well. So we copied his sleeper ID. We now have his league power rankings according to Keep Trade Cut. Now, according to their power rankings, you are currently 8th. So we might have a little bit of a mountain to climb. Again, keeping in mind, this is a 12-team SuperFlex Start 11 tight end premium league. And the premium is 0.5.
Yeah.
But let's have a look at the roster that we are rocking with. So we've got Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, Aaron Rodgers. I feel really good about that quarterback room. I'll just start there, Badaki. I feel good about that quarterback room. Now, you don't have a top 3 or 5 guy in there, but you have names who could certainly, in any given year, finish top 3 or 5 with Trevor Lawrence and Kyler Murray if they put it all together, especially if Kyler's about to get the likes of Marvin Harrison. Aaron Rodgers is a good quarterback 3 for now. Not someone you're really building around, but like you mentioned, you do want to compete. He'll be a fine option to kind of throw in and out of the roster. And keep in mind, guys, QB3 should be considered much more valuable today than it ever has been. And that's because
100%.
of how many injuries we saw last year. I think there were 9 total quarterbacks who started the year for their team that actually ended up as a starter at the end. So many injuries. But when I look at the likes of a CJ Beathard, Trubisky, Trask, DeVito, Brissett, most of these names are just roster cloggers. I don't need to roster CJ. Anyone in my league who wants to roster CJ, go ahead. Be my guest. I don't need to roster Trubisky. He can't even win the job when Kenny Pickett is injured. Kyle Trask, right. You can make a decision on that. DeVito, there's some fun to roster him. Brissett is probably, of these names, the most worth rostering, simply because we've seen him be a starter, and he probably could have started on many teams this year. So right. At the quarterback spot, he's in a good position right now. At the running back spot, you've got Travis Etienne. That is really the only running back I can see that is going to be helping you compete this year. I don't expect anything out of these names. Badaki, how about you?
Yeah, I don't expect anything out of these names either. When it comes down to the running back position, it's a little bit difficult to envision anyone really taking over here personally when I look at this running back room.
Yeah.
So yeah, Travis Etienne feels really confident. I feel really confident. So maybe could be the first move potentially when trying to get a hole, is potentially getting a running back, another running back in this backfield.
And what I would say, by the way, is the issue here is there's no tradable asset either. You're not getting any return for any of these names. Like Tank, you could probably get a third. But that's the other issue here, is like you're really not getting any return for any of these names. So when we're talking about trades and trade options, there's really not much value here. Penny will get you nothing. Johnson, Evans, Wilson. Let's start here. Names that are worth keeping: Wilson, Rivers, Deuce, Tank, Etienne. Obviously, I don't see much with Madison moving forward, or Evans, or Johnson, or Penny. So clearly,
Agreed.
Our running back room is a weakness. At wide receiver, we've got Tank Dell, JSN, Romeo Dobbs, Calvin Ridley, Jahan Dotson, Wan'Dale Robinson, Treylon Burks, Jalen Tolbert, Jake Bobo, Kyle Phillips, and Alan Lazard. Unfortunately, Treylon Burks did not take the step I wanted him to this year. He's someone that you hold because you're not going to get any more than the third round pick. You hold him, but you certainly don't plan on building around him. Same as probably said with Jahan Dotson. He's a strong hold. Quarterback upgrades on the way, but we still have question marks long term. But you have a pretty solid, I'd say, top with Tank Dell and JSN. But still, if you're wanting to compete this year, there is not very much firepower at the running back or wide receiver spot.
Yeah, and that's exactly how many starters are. It's an
start 11. So that's a bigger problem.
Three wide receivers and a flex, I'm assuming.
No, you've got 11? 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers.
Running backs.
Oh,
yeah,
wait. Start 11 with the SuperFlex. So quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers. You've got a tight end, a SuperFlex, and then 3 more flexes.
5. You technically can start 5. No, wait.
You can start 6 wide receivers in this format, I believe.
Oh, no.
So I think it's time for potentially a reality check with Mr. Keeves' team here.
Yeah.
Barring some very impressive trades, I do not think you're in a position to compete this year. Let's look at some of the teams at the top here.
Well, some of the teams at the top here,
not like actually Josh all that Allen, good, but exactly, a lot of draft capital.
Doesn't have the QB2. I mean, I feel like the strong quarterback room will probably be team 2 with CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson there potentially. Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff from Let's Cook.
You know, your league is pretty well dispersed. I mean, yeah, like this kind of team you're probably not competing with, if we're honest. But you're for the most part, your team is pretty well dispersed talent-wise. I mean, like this team is going to knock you out the park here. Yeah. So he mentioned that he has the 101, and he also has the 112.
Yeah. Okay.
In an ideal world, you can move the 101 for a ridiculous haul. including a running back, but we also need wide receiver. Man, I'll be honest. I'm really struggling to see us.
I think this is
competing this year.
I find the pathway. Yeah, look, you to compete this year might be a little bit hard, but Team 11 CDs, this might be the perfect player or team to go out and try and trade for. He doesn't have any 24 firsts. His quarterback 2 is in question. You have Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Gardner Minshew, Mac Jones. Who's that QB2? He probably, in reality, what sounds crazy, the only quarterback you're comfortable for Team 11 is Baker Mayfield. So that is somebody that you can go out and send that 101. Can I get a CeeDee Lamb, an AJ Brown, and maybe a second round pick in that 24, maybe even more?
Yeah.
Can you get?
Here's the issue I have though: is like, let's say we send the 101 for CeeDee Lamb, we're still not in a position with this many starters to feel good about competing this year. You're still not there.
Oh yeah, I agree. Look, to compete this year, you're not there. Is that exactly to compete next season? Maybe not as hard.
Let me see if
this year.
Sorry, I was gonna see if our trade finder could show us any trades for the 101. I'm not sure if it's linked up yet. Let me see.
I really wish they told us what seconds they have, because he does have a 24 second. So like, can he get a Jonathan Brooks, a Trey Benson, and kind of build off of somebody there, or can he get CeeDee Lamb and get? Well, he doesn't really have anyone in that draft either.
Damn, these are some weird trades.
That's so tough.
Oh man. Okay. I really wanted to push you into a positive headspace here, Mr. Keeves, and say, here's some moves that we can make. I do not think you're in a position to make said moves. I would probably be hitting the reset button on this team a little bit. The good news is you don't need to sell JSN. You don't need to sell Tank Dell. You don't need to sell Jahan Dotson or Treylon Burks, because the return as well as Wandell is not going to be worth what you would send away. I think this is just the direction we would take it. Whatever direction you want to go, you can. If you get a ridiculous haul from the 101 and somehow you get an extra 3 starters, including a running back, to make this team work, then we could be wrong here. But I think you need to start selling off some assets. ETN is probably not in your best interest to keep at this point. So Travis Etienne, probably the first name I'm going to sell. And that's hard to hear because I love me some Travis Etienne. But I do think he's going to be the first name that we're going to be looking to sell here. So let's see some potential deals that he could get. This is a full PPR. There's a tight end premium. It's a 12-man. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So technically he's got 4 flex spots, dude. Start 11. That's 7, 8. No, that's 12. My bad.
So 3.
So let's just put these settings right with your team. And I just want to see some trades that have happened for ETN as of recently. But I think draft capital is the way to go here. Someone sent Travis Etienne for T. Higgins. Someone sent Travis Etienne for Jalen Waddle straight up and a 1 quarterback. Someone sent Travis Etienne away for a first and a second, as well as Kirk Cousins. I think we need to add to our draft capital, Badaki. So ideally, what is the highest pick you can get for Travis Etienne? I mean, is the 105 unreasonable in the community's eyes? They're saying that you lose that the 105 is more valuable.
Mm-hmm. Man, I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I think this could, like, if look, I am not saying he can compete, but I'm saying he's not too far away from competing when you think of the wide receiver room as a whole. I think, yeah, the running back room is what hurts. But like, if you have the 101, then just get Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a massive boost, a foundational piece.
Okay, and then who's your starting running back too?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's where you hope in his second round, wherever that is, he can get a Jonathan Brooks, a Bucky Irving if they land in the right spot, the Braylon Allens if he lands in the right spot.
I think you
I
are
get it.
really wishing on a dream for him to compete this year, personally.
I'm not saying he's going to compete. I'm nowhere near saying he's going to compete. I'm saying like he has good pieces that he can still build off of. I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think Travis Etienne is somebody that I would trade away. But I mean that's our different perspectives.
I think if this was a start 8, I would agree with you, because you could start Kyler Murray, Trevor Lawrence, you could start Travis Etienne, look for a running back. That would be 4. Then you could start Tank Dell and JSN and Jake Ferguson. But we are having to start 11 here, and that is very difficult to field 11 players here, even if you get Marvin Harrison. Best case scenario, it's Kyler, Trevor, that's 2, Travis Etienne, Tank Bigsby, Madison, I don't know, that's 4. Then you got Tank Dell, JSN, Dobbs, Ridley, that's 8. Jahan is 9, Wandell is 11, and then Jake Ferguson. So you would have to.
Well, with this format, it's tight end premium. So if anything, starting 2 tight ends is significantly better than starting someone like a Wandell Robinson.
Right, but still, I don't think the half tight end premium is going to make up enough for you to be a competitive team. I'll be honest, Kyler. I struggle to see a scenario in which you have a chance to win the championship this year, and if you don't, I don't see a reason to not rebuild. And you don't have to hard rebuild. I think this is just like a soft rebuild. Sell ETN for as many picks as you can, ideally somewhere in the top 5 if you can manage to get it. Who needs a running back? Like even the team at 1 or at 2, was it? They have Javonte, Kendre, and Chuba. They could definitely use a name like Travis Etienne. Right now, it looks like they have 2 first-round picks. What picks are those?
We wouldn't know.
Yeah, no, I'm like suggesting it to him to find out, right, and see what you can do for them. So I personally feel like you're in a position where you don't have the depth. You don't have the depth. So I'd be looking to sell ETN. Ideally, you can get somewhere from the 105 to the 107. But let me just say this. You do not need to aggressively sell any running back right now. Travis Etienne is going to be worth probably more in October than he is today. When redraft is hyped up, when people are talking about players more, when he's going as a first or a second round pick in redraft leagues, he's going to have more value then than he will have today. So you don't have to sell him right now if you're not going to get like the 105 or the 106. As far as Tank, you keep him, you keep JSN, you keep Jahan, you keep Traylon and Wandell. Everyone else you can sell. You can sell Ridley, you can sell Dobbs, you can sell Goddard even. You don't need him. And depending on what you do at the 101, you have a chance to sell Kyler or Trevor or moving the 101 for a bunch of future assets to build around next year. That's how I would play it. I just don't think you're in a position where a couple moves are going to put you in a spot to compete.
I would say this. If you were going to sell anyone, I don't think right now in the beginning of the offseason is the right move. If Calvin really gets moved to another team and where he has starting value, like I guess I'm just saying it for him, you know, wait and see, play the wait and see approach. Because if these guys, like for example, we say to hold Jahan, but if Jahan somehow skyrockets back to where he was last year when he was like a mid to late first, you could be interested. Calvin Ridley, I doubt is going to have value right now. You wait until whatever team he goes to. What if he goes to an elite quarterback? And you know, what if he goes to the Bengals where T. Higgins is no longer there? That's a huge boost, right? So you keep these guys and wait for the right moment for these values to rise to then sell. Same thing with Alexander Madison, for somehow he sells, or if his value rises if they don't draft another guy. So I think a lot of people will continue to monitor his value. But yeah, look,
And
I would say this: if you don't trade, last thing I would say, sorry, if you don't get a haul that you like for the 2024 first,
for the 101.
for the 101, draft Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
Draft Caleb Williams, get your third quarterback, or maybe try and pivot off, or you get the stack with Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison, who was always already projected to go to the Arizona Cardinals anyway. That's a good start for you. So yeah, that's what I would think.
Here's what I would say in summation. I 100% agree that now is not the right time to sell Travis Etienne, nor is it the right time to try and sell Calvin Ridley. Maybe Dobbs. If he keeps popping off in the playoffs, maybe Dobbs is the right guy to sell right now. All these guys are probably going to gain value. Dotson's going to get a new quarterback. JSN, we'll see what happens with that roster. Travis Etienne will be more valuable when people actually think about winning games, in October and September than he is right now. So don't make any moves right now, but when we get closer towards redraft season, that's when you can really start thinking about some moves. And I know a lot of people want to get their team in exactly the shape and the direction they want it to be, but oftentimes patience is the best way out. We've been talking with people in the fantasy hotline who are trying to sell certain running backs right now, and we're telling them, like, right now is not the time to make this move. They will be more valuable when redraft season comes. So probably don't make these moves right now, but at some point in this offseason, you either want to move the 101 for a haul or one of those two quarterbacks in Kyler or Trevor Lawrence. I would ideally like to move Travis Etienne. I think there's a scenario, it's not right now, but probably more towards redraft season where you're getting multiple first-round picks. I'm not saying they're all early, but you could probably get multiple first-round picks, or at minimum, a very early first in 2025 projected. His value will rise. You keep Tank Dell, you keep JSN, you keep Calvin Ridley until free agency happens. You keep Jahan Dotson at minimum until they get a new quarterback and see what his value does in the community. And I would look at selling Dallas Goedert at any time if you want to. Or honestly, even Jake Ferguson, if he's going to give you a higher return. Keep one of these two names, you can sell the other. But yeah, like Badaki said, you can draft Marvin Harrison Jr. with this team, absolutely. Or if you want to sell a Trevor or a Kyler, then you can draft Caleb Williams. But it might not be exactly what you want to hear. I just think honesty is more important than anything, and I honestly don't think you're close to competing. Again, like I said, if this was a start 8, different conversation. Start 11, you're not close.
Yeah, it's tough. I think you're in a weird window, in my personal opinion. But yeah, look, there's definitely a couple ways you can go. You can see how everything pans out. Let's say that I'm really interested to know where that 24-second is. Yeah. That's your 24-second, because I think that can really change a lot, and it may not be able to compete this year.
Well, it would be the 201. It would be the 201 if his own pick is the 101.
Okay. Well, I think that makes things interesting, because you could potentially get a running back if everything goes well. But once again, like Zach said earlier, a lot of things have to fall into place for it to go well. So you draft Marvin Harrison Jr., and then in a perfect world, you get a Trey Benson. In a perfect world, Calvin really goes to the Bengals. In a perfect world, Romeo Doubs is a wide receiver too. In a perfect world, Wan'Dale Robinson gets another quarterback. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand.
In a perfect world, there's a scenario where you compete. It's just unlikely. We're expecting JSN to take another step. What if he doesn't? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
100%.
There's so many factors there. Well, let's say you did draft Caleb and you trade away Trevor. We expect Caleb to be relevant year one. What if he isn't? There's two sides to the hypothetical coin there. But that's the best advice I think we could give right now for this team is you need to be patient right now and sell assets at the right time. And by the way, don't, even with us saying this, don't just sell, let's say you draft Caleb Williams, you're like, damn, I really need to sell Trevor or Kyler now. You can sell them, but don't force it if it doesn't make sense for your team. Wait until the right time. You can even wait until week 4 of the NFL season to make that move. Whenever their peak value is when you can make those moves. So I would label this team a 1 year, not even rebuild, because you have good pieces. It's like a 1 or 2 year restructure.
Feel it. You have to feel it. I think there's a lot of feel it out players on this team, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The Jahan Dotson, the Jackson Smith and Jigbas, the Calvin Ridleys. These are all these people that we love, and they're still young, and you still have to say, damn, like, if they don't get the right pieces around them, it's gonna suck.
I agree. But thank you so much for the support, Mr. Keeves. And of course, Mr. Keeves, you should have your fantasy hotline set up. Feel free to DM us if you have any questions at all. The next team today is going to be from Sparrow86. So we will go ahead and start to look at his team here on the stream. And let's go ahead and put in his sleeper ID here. Now, while we're doing this, just a heads up, if you guys do want this done for you, if you want us to look at your Dynasty team and see where you stand with your league and what direction you should probably take, then it's actually quite simple. All you need to do is use the promo code LAND, sign up to the Flock Fantasy website, make sure that you choose the Mother Flocker tier, and then once you link your Discord, you will be able to see the roster submissions tab right here, just like everyone else that we're looking at today. Again, use the code LAND, become a Mother Flocker, and you will be able to get a Dynasty team review just like what we're doing today. But the next team, Badaki, is from Sparrow86. And the context is it's a 12-team full PPR, half tight and premium, 2 quarterbacks, so not SuperFlex, but 2 quarterback. And it's a 6-point passing touchdown, start 9. He says, I unfortunately traded my first for Miles Sanders in the offseason, and it ended up being the 110, but I got it back by trading Tajay for it. Okay. I went 11-3 and had a bye in the playoffs, but lost right away, unfortunately, because I just don't have the quarterbacks and injuries didn't help. I still plan on competing, so my main question is, what move should I make to get a quarterback? And also, what other moves should I make? Okay, so we've got a team that is wanting to compete, that made the playoffs last year, and it's a start 9, 2 quarterback league, full PPR. There's a tight end premium. And do we know what his team name is? He's in the chat. He says
Montreal,
Minnesota Tiger Vikings.
Oh, is that you?
That's him, yeah.
I thought he was Montreal Poutine for a second. Okay.
Again, keeping in mind it is a 2 quarterback league. That is a tough look here. Not even SuperFlex. 2 quarterback league. Will Levis is our best option. That's rough. And it looks like we have the 110, but that's our only first round pick in 2024.
Yeah. Okay.
So
well, starting off at the quarterback position, it is not the best start whatsoever.
Yeah. And I think he knows that.
Yeah.
The good news, Badaki, is that there is a chance Daniel Jones is your starter next year. I know Giants fans don't want to hear that, but there is a good chance that he is your starter.
Yeah, 100%.
You guys could go offensive line. You could go weapon, and then you could build around Daniel Jones still. So that is the best case scenario for this team. Is at minimum you have 2 guys who are actually starting for their teams. But I will say, looking through the rest of his roster, it's pretty strong. It's a start 9. So his ideal start 9 is, let's just throw 2 quarterbacks in there. Then Bijan, Rashad White, that's 4. At wide receiver, you'll have Chase, St. Brown, and Wilson. That's 7. And then you got TJ Hawkinson. And then you can flex Tony Pollard depending on where he goes. So you're not in a bad spot. Your starting roster is actually pretty decent outside of quarterback and an extra flex somewhere.
An extra flex, yeah. And I would completely agree. And look, there is some light at the end of the tunnel with this team. It may not be exciting. You don't have a heavy hitter quarterbacks, but look, Daniel Jones and Will Levis could be the starting quarterback going into the 2024 season. What does that new head coach look like for Will Levis now that Mike Vrabel's out? Same thing with Daniel Jones, like you kind of mentioned. Offensive line, do they get Aroma Doomsday or Malik Neighbors with the 6th overall pick, and Daniel Jones is still the quarterback. We don't know, but I think your best bet here is to keep every single one of your players at the moment. And at that 110, you're going to have to hope that a Bo Nix lands in a favorable spot, that JJ McCarthy or Michael Penix or whoever lands at a favorable spot at the 110, and you take a chance on somebody at the 110 right there. Because if you're telling me that Bo Nix goes in the early second round to the Atlanta Falcons, that is somebody that I'm targeting at the 110.
I agree. You're in a weird spot because in a 2-quarterback league, quarterbacks are going to go even higher than SuperFlex. And you want Bo Nix and Penix and McCarthy to get good draft capital, but not too good to the point where you're out of contention at the 110. It's like you're going to be in a super interesting spot in this draft. I have an idea, and I know it's going to sound crazy, but just hear me out. The one piece that makes sense, that you don't have to move, but I think this is our biggest piece that you can make a move to improve your quarterback spot, would probably be Bijan Robinson. Okay? I'm not saying you have to move this player. I'm just saying if at the 110 your draft comes around and it's like, damn, I mean, there's actually not a viable quarterback on the board. You cannot go into this year with Will Levis and Daniel Jones as your quarterback. That is just not going to work out very well at all. So you could look at Bijan Robinson, and what sort of haul could you potentially get for him? I'm looking at like rankings. Let me pull up mine here. I'm looking at my rankings and I'm thinking, all right, could Bijan Robinson, could I get a deal somewhere where I get a Jordan Love plus a good starting running back? I get a Jalen Hurts somehow off of this bad performance, lately. Can I swing my way into A-Rich or Kyler or Trevor plus a really good starting running back? These are the kind of moves that I'm thinking about potentially looking at, because I don't mind so much Will Levis as my quarterback too. I certainly don't feel good about it, but I cannot enter the year with Will Levis and Daniel Jones as my starting running backs. Now, the alternative option is if there is no clear answer at the 110 in the draft, you could look at sending the 110 for a quarterback. What quarterback would that be? How do people feel about Justin Fields in your league? How do they feel about Jared Goff or Tua tags right now? A lot of people are a little bit lower on Tua. Let's say in the community's eyes, if I was to send Justin Fields for the 110 right now, I bet you that wouldn't be that far off. So they say that's a fair trade. Now, is this? Let's go to his format. He has a premium. He's got 2 quarterback, which is SuperFlex, but he's a start 9.
Yeah, he's a start 9. Yes.
6. So it's more like this. This is what your league looks like. So just to update these settings. But yeah, I mean, this is something that you could potentially look at. Justin Fields could, I agree, instantly improve your roster. He says start 3. So that must mean 1 flex then?
Yeah. So it'll be 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, 3 flex, and a tight end. So 2, 2, 3, 1. Right.
Quick math says 7. No, I'm an idiot. It's 2 flexes. My bad. Okay. So this is something that you could look at. A Justin Fields. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you don't know exactly what you're going to get at the 110. But if you're trying to make a move right now with the uncertainty around Justin Fields and, hey, where does he go? Maybe the owner in your league doesn't feel good about Justin Fields moving forward. I mean, you could throw a couple other names out there. How about a Tua tags? Maybe this is something that you could look at. Now, it says you're robbing them here, but I bet you with certain pieces you could get that kind of deal done depending on what the owner wants. What was the other name that we talked about?
You said Tua, you said Justin Fields, you said Jordan Love, which I doubt you can do that now.
Jared Goff,
yeah,
is someone that you could potentially look at. So those are some names that I think you could explore with the 110. But obviously keeping in mind that your league is going to view players differently to our community rankings. But at the end of the day, your number one goal is to improve your quarterback spot this offseason.
Quarterback, yeah.
Whether that means you use Bijan as this big piece in a huge haul, or whether that means you use the 110 to improve that, then you can really have a look at potentially upgrading that quarterback room there. And take some shots at the 210 and the 211 if like a Spencer Rattler goes in the 4th round or something, you know?
Look, there's another pathway you can go. I think what the one that Zach is talking about, I think it's the most ideal pathway. Now, if somebody out there that doesn't want to send you or doesn't want the 110 and wants to send you a Jared Goff or the Justin Fields because they believe Justin Fields go to Atlanta, or hypothetically Jared Goff wins a Super Bowl, or whatever the case may be, you could just get like a Band-Aid patch type of quarterback. It's true. Not exciting. Can you send a 3rd for Russell Wilson? Once again, not exciting, but like, what if he goes to the Falcons?
Sure.
Can you send another 3rd or something for a Geno Smith who did have a down year this year? That shouldn't cost too much.
I'm a little bit hesitant on Geno just because of the quarterback change.
Sure.
I think Kirk Cousins is great. Kirk Cousins and Baker, though, great options.
Kirk Cousins, Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford. You go down that route as well if you can't get somebody along those lines. Because I think a lot of people are going to be stingy with these quarterbacks coming into this year, and even getting some of those other players or quarterbacks like the players that we're talking about, Russell Wilson, Matthew Stafford's, Baker Mayfield, they're going to be like, oh, I don't know, I want to keep him just because it's all these injuries. So you might have to pay a little bit more. Say in a 3rd and 2/3, right? A late 2nd and a 3rd, whatever that looks like to get those players. Once again, not the ideal route, which is more of a Band-Aid way. But yeah, if you can't get anyone else, then that could be a way you can go.
Yeah, you're probably like those late seconds are not going to get you a quarterback straight up. Our trade calculator says that. Even like my thoughts, those are my thoughts anyway. But if you package them in Pollard, or package them in Ritter, or like with all these question marks at quarterback, you can absolutely find a way into another quarterback. Steven mentioned 110 for Bryce Young. That's something that you could look at. I think you could probably get Bryce Young plus for the 110 at the moment with the way the community is viewing him. So that's definitely something that you could look at. But packaging those 2 seconds for a Baker, a Stafford, could you even package those 2 seconds for Bryce? Probably not in a 2 quarterback. But again,
I don't think so,
just keep in mind, guys, we're not telling you everything that we're saying is 100% going to be accepted. These are the avenues that you explore. These are the conversations that you're going to start to have, and you'll see what sort of results come. And the good news is that, just like Sparrow here, once we finish reviewing your team, you can still talk to us in our fantasy hotline, in the DM. You can talk to us about the moves that you're trying to make. But I feel really good about your running backs, really good about your wide receivers. Hawkinson, I wouldn't be opposed to moving him, to be honest, man. Like, if I knew I could swap Hawkinson for Bowers right now, I would do it, given his injury.
Yeah, I just don't know who that would be that he would get. Like, I don't know if you can get with his draft capital.
There's a tight end
really
premium.
Hard to get back. Yeah, and plus I think it's just difficult because he's injured. With him, but yeah, look, there is a tight end premium, and you could take chances though. Like, can you send TJ Hawkinson? And get someone like a Kyle Pitts and more, who we hope gets a new quarterback. Like, that's a big risk, though.
Yeah.
By the way, in my opinion.
I was talking earlier about trying to finesse Bijan into a quarterback plus a startable running back. Mm-hmm. You could look at a team like this that has Hurts and Allen. Right now they have Chubb, Eckler, Hill-Von. I mean, they're in a tough spot. And they have the 103, so they're in a prime position to draft another quarterback anyway. Mm-hmm. That's a team that you could look at exploring an option with. Could you get an Eckler or Chubb plus, the package is unlimited. Like, there's no limit to the package that you could create here. So
yeah,
and you could even do deals where you're selling Bijan straight up for a starting quarterback, and then you go use these late picks for vet running backs that are so cheap, but are probably startable assets. Your James Connors of the world, your Alvin Kamara's of the world. You know, enter a veteran, your Joe Mixon's if he's still there. Enter a veteran starting running back, and you could look at potentially replacing, not Bijan, but building your team with better foundations. So ultimately, you're definitely a competitor if you can figure out your quarterback spot. Let's just sum it up here. In your ideal world, Will Levis and Daniel Jones are both starting quarterbacks heading into the 2024 year. When you're watching the NFL draft, you are actively rooting for the Giants to not draft a quarterback. That would be worst case scenario for you. Outside of your quarterback, the rest of your team looks very good. I'm happy to pivot from Hawkinson to one of those other top options, or even to a Brock Bowers entering the league if that's possible. I wouldn't even sniff an option to move these 3 wide receivers: Wilson, St. Brown, Chase. Now, outside of those 3 names, you got a pretty weak depth chart. So if you don't end up moving these pieces, or if you get a deal done with Bijan, that 110 can instantly be an impact wide receiver. You can take shots on wide receivers at the 210 and 211 here. So the good news for you, you don't have a lot of wide receiver depth, but this is the right class to need to add to that. So you'll have plenty of opportunities to add impact wide receivers to your team. But that's our main goal, I think. That's our main goal. He says I'm rooting for them to take Neighbors. Yeah, that would be ideal. But yeah. Any final words here? I really think the pathway is so clear towards this team competing.
Yeah, you just gotta get the quarterback. But that's the final thoughts. I would say, don't try too much. I think don't try and do everything you can to get a quarterback. I would say even if you can send those thirds or seconds for those older veteran quarterbacks, just so you can have some more depth, I think that could be really exciting as well. Like, once again, Matthew Stafford, Russell Wilson's, those type of quarterbacks. See if you can get them on your team anyway. I mean, what's a third, right? At the moment, it doesn't feel too crazy. I know a lot of people talk about Puka and Tank Dell going in the third, but still, it happens rarely. If you can get those guys, like, for example, if Daniel Jones is the starting quarterback next year, or is not the starting quarterback next year, I am sending 2 thirds, 2 late seconds to try and get a quarterback on my roster as soon as possible.
Absolutely.
Once that pick is made. James Daniels goes to the Giants, you need to go get a quarterback that day. Yeah. Right? Before everyone starts to understand your team and your roster. So keep that in mind.
By the way, something to note is, and Alan talked about this, Team 1 does have a strong hold on this league. So that might be a team to It sounds like this guy just made some really good deals, potentially ones that screwed other teams over. He has the 101, the 104, and he's already got a powerhouse team. So this is a force to be reckoned with here. No doubt this team is a powerhouse. And encourage people not to trade with him, even though that would suck if you were that team and you'd want people to trade with you, because he's already very good. But yeah, there's a clear pathway towards competing here. But hopefully that was helpful. Thank you for the support, man. We really appreciate you. And of course, Sparrow, like we mentioned earlier with Mr. Keeves, you got your fancy hotline. So again, feel free at any time to message us. We would be happy to help. I think Piglegs is next.
Yeah, Piglegs, 100%. Let me pull his team up here, and we can go straight into...
So, while we're transitioning to the next team, there might be some people watching and asking, okay, wait, how are these people getting their team reviewed? Do you just choose people at random? What's that process look like? Well, it's actually quite simple. All you need to do is sign up to the Flock Fantasy website with our promo code LAND. Once you have done that, and I'll put a link in the chat, make sure you choose the Mother Flocker tier, and you're going to save 30%. You're also going to get a Dynasty team review unlocked from us. All you need to do is connect your Discord, and then you will unlock the roster submissions tab. Everyone gets one team review per year, as well as so many other perks. So keep that in mind. But the next team we're going to be looking at here is Piglegs. And
Jive.
we don't have his team name, or is it Jive?
His team name is Jive.
Team name is Jive. Okay. So let's start here. He says 12 team, SuperFlex, full PPR, no Titan Premium, total rebuild mode. Low-key, tanked for Caleb, sold Kamara, Thielen, Mike Evans, Hawk, Swift, starting over. Just looking for draft pick advice, whether it be who to take or what picks I might trade for missing pieces. He has the 101, the 105, the 107, the 201, the 209, the 301, the 306, the 401, and the 501. And in 25, he has 2 firsts and 2 seconds. I'll just start by saying 5th rounds, I'll just say in general, if this matters to anyone, probably not very necessary for most leagues. For the most part, these are going to be practice squad players. But, you know, that probably doesn't help anyone by saying that anyway. But Jive is a team. According to Keep Trade Cut, he is the 2nd ranked player in his league. And again, it's SuperFlex, full PPR, no Titan Premium.
I think that's just because of draft capital, having the 101, 105, 107. He's the 2nd ranked team here. He did say he did tank for Caleb, which looks like he's getting the 101. So you expect Caleb Williams to be on this team. CJ Stroud and Caleb
fun quarterback room, man.
100%. That's going to be really exciting to see those guys going for you, doing it for your team here. The running back position, I think, is your weakest. No question about it. But there's definitely some opportunity that you can potentially get coming into this draft where you have the 201, the 209 coming in. All depends on how
306.
You go. Definitely running backs can go there. This is a start 9. So what's this? 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, what's that? That's actually 4. 2, 2, 4.
It's probably 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs, which is 4, 3 wide receivers, which is 7, 1 tight end, and then a flex or 2 flexes instead of 3 wide receivers. So
that's what I'm saying. Like, you can have like up to 4 wide receivers that he can start, or 3 wide receivers.
You've got a pretty good wide receiver room, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. You definitely have some pieces. Chris Olave, Tank Dell, Jackson Smith, and Jigba there. Demario Douglas, who both Zach and I have brought in individual videos, who we can see have a massive pathway, whether that's with Jaden Daniels or Drake May coming into that team if they do take a quarterback in the 2nd round or in the 1st round. So the foundation is there. It's just the running back room that you can definitely build off, and it's going to get stronger as well at the 105, which that could be Malik Neighbors, that can be Roma Dunze, that can even be a Brock Bowers. That could be a massive uptick in your production here, where you have Cole Kmet, who I like, who you're going to be pairing up most likely with CJ Stroud, or excuse me, Caleb Williams. So keep that in mind as well.
You're in a very unique place where, because I'm trying to think about how we distribute these picks, how we get the most value out of them, whether it's drafting them or removing them. You're in a really unique position where the strengths of this class almost kind of fit into what you're trying to add anyway. I will say off the very top, you obviously don't trade the 101. You're going to grab Caleb there as your quarterback too. But even the 105, I don't personally want to trade that away. I want to make a pick at the 105. If that's Malik Neighbors, great. My wide receiver room just got a million times better. If that is a quarterback, great. I need the 3rd quarterback anyway, because Hendon Hooker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson are not starting at any time soon. And you know, we don't think this will happen, but keep in mind there were people last year who had multiple picks in the top 5, and they went Bryce Young, let's say at the 103, and they had the 105, and they said, you know what? I already took Bryce. I'm going to take Jason. I don't need CJ Stroud. So what I'm saying is, regardless of what happens, who knows who busts, who knows who becomes a star, you keep the 101, you keep the 105. They suit your team perfectly. You either grab Caleb and Neighbors, or you grab Caleb and May, Caleb and Jaden Daniels. Either way, you're in a great spot with those 2 picks. At the 107, you have a great spot, again, to add onto your wide receiver depth. So I would be looking at a Brian Thomas Jr. here. Roma Dunze probably doesn't fall. Even if Brock Bowers falls, I know it's a non-Titan premium, but I would add Brock Bowers to this team. Even though Cole Kmet is there, I would feel comfortable adding a Bowers to this team. And then The good news is you have the 201, which you can add a running back there. If that's Benson who gets second or third round capital, let's say Braylon Allen goes to a perfect spot, or Blake Corum or Jonathan Brooks, you can use that 201. Same with the 209. Who is the third round running back that is still on the board. That's how I would use that. Again, 301, 306. We have all these shots in a weaker running back class, but there will be guys available in the late second, in the third round that you can take a shot on and just see what happens with them. Now, alternatively, to improve this running back room, I am not at all opposed at using the 209, the 301, the 306 to trade these away to get veterans on my team. Your James Connors, your Alvin Kamaras, your Derrick Henrys of the world, guys who they're going to produce if they're the starter, your Joe Mixons, but are very affordable right now in the Dynasty landscape. So I think you've got kind of the perfect picks combined with roster to really find almost all the answers you need for your roster this offseason.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're in a really good spot when it comes down to picks and where people want to be. People want to be clearly in the first round, but they also want to be in the top half of the second round. So if somebody wants to say, yo, hey, I got a running back, the 201 for the 201, and they send you a running back that you like, take an opportunity, right? Can you send the 201 and the 209 to get a running back that you like?
What are let's talk about some running backs that would be worth exploring for the 201 and the 209. You're not going to get a Kyron. You and I disagree on James Cook. I think he's worth a late first, but if I could send the 201 for James Cook on this team, I'd do it in a heartbeat. I'd take James Cook. I would do the same for Saquon and White and Pacheco. I would send the 201 for any of those names. Probably for Javonte as well.
Yeah, Javonte, I think of those names. I think of Swift if he stays. All those names, all those guys that you named feel really exciting to go ahead and try to acquire to boost your running back room, and see how that kind of performs. Because it's either, let me ask you this, it's either do you get one running back and just look, you probably draft a running back at the 201 and then probably send the rest of your picks, or maybe even a 25 second for running back, like an older running back, like we kind of mentioned.
Yeah.
Right. So like
you've also got a lot of picks in the future that you can work with. So there's no doubt in my mind you can build a really solid squad.
100%. I think like you let all these other picks, I say you let the first round from the 101 to the 201 come to you. Let the draft come to you, and however way that is, the rest, that's when you're saying, okay, I got my key foundational players that you like, that you can build around. Who can I get with my draft capital? Who can I send package the rest of my picks, the 209, the 301 to the 306, and can I get a running back?
Yeah.
What does that look like at the time?
Yeah, I agree.
That can be really exciting.
I agree. And just to sum that up, the 201, in my opinion, your dream world is adding a name like Rachaad White, a Pacheco. That list extends to Javonte Williams, Saquon. Probably not going to get Kyron that cheap, of course. But worst case scenario, you can draft a player there, like we mentioned. The 209, same thing. Can you get a vet like we talked about? If not, who's the best kind of running back value in the draft that you can add to your depth there? But the good news is for you, Zamir White is someone I'm holding on to. If this team moves on from Josh Jacobs, you could luck your way into a starter there. Yeah, you've got really, really good pieces. There's no sell on this team. You know what I mean? Like, I was looking through it. There is not a player I want to sell on this team, or a player that I feel would get good return. Like, obviously, Fournette's not even on a team. McBride, McKinnon, Hill, these guys aren't giving you probably any return at all.
Yeah.
But
yeah, there's no one here.
You've got great foundations.
Yeah. I agree. This is a good team. I'm excited to see what this team looks like after the draft. CJ Stroud and Caleb Williams just sounds deadly to me.
Oh my gosh. Okay,
which
so
is going to be so exciting.
why don't you and I'll go first, you go second. I'm going to say what your dream roster would be heading into the 2024 season, okay? Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud. At running back, we got James Cook with the 201. Then we traded the 209 to go get James Conner or Alvin Kamara. At wide receiver, we've got Chris Olave, Tank Dell, Malik Neighbors, JSN. At tight end, we got Brock Bowers and Cole Kmet.
Yeah.
And then a whole bunch of depth pieces with the picks that we've got.
I agree. I really like that one. James Cook. I think I would switch it. The running backs, I'll keep James. I'll go out and try and get James Cook. And then I'll package everyone to try and get even higher. I'll try and take my 25-second and get a Josh Jacobs who gets signed somewhere else. If he can. So yeah.
Or I'd even be willing to send like that other first that you had in 25 if it's not going to be from a good or if it's from like a decent team or even your own for like an A-Chan or something. You know, if you wanted to really go in this year. But I'll just say to finish this, these are the only running backs that I'm actively trading a first-round pick for, okay? Bijan, Brees, Gibbs, Taylor, McCaffrey, Etienne, A-Chan. End of list. If you were to do that. Yeah. So, we agree?
Yeah.
That was a fun one because all the answers were there for us. It's just about guiding how to get to those answers. So,
exactly.
Great team. Really fun one, Piglegs.
Right.
All right, the next team that we are looking at is Daniel. Daniel, are you in the sleeper chat? Let us know. And if you are, feel free at any moment to provide any feedback or questions as we go through and look at your team. We do love to have the back and forth and make sure that you're a part of this as well, obviously. And just while we're doing that, anyone who would like to know, the way for you to have your team reviewed by us on a live stream, very, very simple. All you need to do is use our promo code LAND when signing up to the Flock Fantasy website. Make sure you choose the Mother Flocker tier, and you're going to instantly unlock the ability for us to review one of your Dynasty teams. You also get the Dynasty Land Rookie Report, which will already be on the website for you. You can download that PDF. Lots of insights there. You unlock all of the features on the website. You unlock the Dynasty Hotline, the trade show. It is a great return. And we've had so much good feedback. So let's read Daniel's context. So the team is called RIP Tank. And this is an orphan team. He got week 5 of the season. He sold Tyreek, DK, and Waller. He got 24 first, 2 seconds, 25 first, Rice, Tank, Robinson in those trades. I really like the sound of those deals, by the way. He says, I turned a 24 first and second into JT after his injury. My 24 first is going to be top 6. Both 24 seconds are top 6. Would love to know who to target to get me into maybe the top 6 next year and then compete in 25. Already have 2 25 firsts. And it's a SuperFlex league. There's a tight end premium of 0.5. It's a start 9, 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 3 flex, and then of course the SuperFlex. So, to sum that up, he orphaned the team, made a lot of moves, sound like they were very smart moves. He wants to compete this year and also into 2025. So, let's have a look at the team. Again, team name is RIP Tank. You are currently ninth.
Currently 9th at the moment. Starting off here at the quarterback position, already feeling a little bit weak here. Anthony Richardson is the only quarterback we can really see. Gardner Minshew, obviously, Tommy Cutlets that we can see here. But if I'm not mistaken, you did say Tommy Cutlets. You did say you do have a top 6 pick.
Yeah, he doesn't know exactly where, but it will be top 6 in the lottery. All you need to do is hope that's top 5. Because if it's top 5, you have got a very good chance to get a quarterback in this draft.
Yeah. So once that comes through, then, and if that is a top 5 pick, you have Anthony Richardson and either, obviously, Caleb, Drake, or Jaden Daniels that potentially going to be on your team. I think no matter what, wherever that first is going to be, you go and you hope that you have the ability to get that first or that quarterback, which can definitely take it to the next level.
He said they're doing the lottery in the next 2 weeks or so, which is good. That'll be an exciting time for you.
Yeah, 100%. Running backs, really good running backs.
Very deep.
Yeah, very deep, decent running back foundation. Jonathan Taylor, Javonte Williams, Brian Robinson, Najee Harris, obviously Devin Singletary, Tank, Justice. Outside of Breece Hall and obviously, the Adrian Petersons, it's not the year they come back from ACL tear that you hope a fantasy production is the year after. Removed from that ACL tear that you hope they can produce a fantasy relevancy, and that is what I'm expecting and hoping for Javonte Williams to come back. Brian Robinson, very interesting running back coming into this year. No one was expecting him to do what he did, but also new head coach, new regime. Does he?
The offense will change.
Does he get this? Yeah, does he get the same opportunity as he did this year? Not sure. And Najee Harris is also an interesting player.
I have some ideas. And let's start. The clear areas we need to address is wide receiver and tight end for this team heading into next year, correct? Because you're going to get Caleb or Drake or Jaden and pair them with A-Rich. We don't know if those players will compete straight away, but you're great at running back. You're going to be good at quarterback. You have some good wide receivers, not enough depth though. You need to add to these wide receivers, and of course, ideally you'd add an impact tight end. Now, looking at the picks that he has, in the second round, he has 2 top 6 picks. The good news is so many wide receivers in this class. So you can absolutely add to your wide receiver depth with a second round pick. We don't expect this to happen, but just keep in mind, Tank Dell and Puka were not even selected in the early second round ADP last year anyway. So you can find good value. This class is even deeper than last year was. I'm not saying you'll find those players, but the point is you can add depth there. I would say Jatavion Sanders also becomes a very realistic option with those top 6 second round picks to add to your tight end room. We do like Dalton Schultz, but you have to keep in mind he's a free agent. He has no contract in 2024. We have no idea where he's going to play. So at the moment, there's not really a clear answer. Ideally, you would have Dalton Schultz return to this team. He can be a startable asset, but in the scenario in which he doesn't return to the team, you're going to need to address that position. Jatavion Sanders could be the answer for you with one of those second round picks. But ultimately what I was trying to get to is we need to navigate these running backs into a wide receiver somehow. You and I saw trades recently where someone sent Najee for Godwin.
Yeah, we did see that.
I'm not necessarily obsessed with that, but it made sense. And it's not like a bad deal by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But I wonder where the community ranks Najee. Let's try and find Najee here. And I want to see the wide receivers ranked around him and see what's kind of realistic.
Let's see.
He might not be. Yeah, that's a little bit too low. RB23. So Deontay Johnson's not a bad pivot. But I would say Najee has more value than that given the scarcity of the position. I actually feel like you could target a Amari Cooper, a Godwin, an Evans. Evans might be more difficult.
I just don't think people with Najee Harris and how bad of, not bad, but negative narrative is around the Steelers' backfield and what he's been doing with Jaylen Warren. I get the thought process. I'm just not sure the community, if you can sell someone like an Amari Cooper, no matter who he's with and who's throwing him the ball, according to the community that you can potentially get. I think it might be best to pivot off of someone like a Brian Robinson, who I feel like the community likes a little bit better.
I'd be totally fine with that. But keep in mind that Najee Harris picked up a ton of steam to end the year. I don't think that same taste is still in people's mouths. I could be wrong. But with the coaching change that they made this year when they let go of their OC, Najee became a pivotal part of that team, and I think he's gotten a lot more life. So I'm saying you can sell Brian and Najee, but I'm saying Najee still has value. I'd be super happy to get an Amari Cooper, a Terry McLaurin, who could get an upgrade, a Chris Godwin. These names that come to mind. I'd even be willing to kind of take a shot on some of the wide receivers in this class. You know, your Brian Thomas Jr.'s, you know, probably a little bit too high of expectations there, but even Xavier Worthy's of the world, your Lad McConkey's, you know, those names. So I'm not suggesting that you only sell Najee. I'm saying he does have value and you can move him. But Brian Robinson's also a great idea. What would, because I would, if you lost Najee and Brian, I would be fine with that, with this team.
Yeah, exactly. I would be fine with it. And, you know, you get one of these younger running backs that can hopefully come up, or you think of, you know, a Roshan, you think of some of these guys that you can hopefully try and get onto your team just to see what happens. But I think if you can pivot from Brian Robinson and Najee Harris and get depth at the running back, at the wide receiver room, that's exactly how you would want to pivot.
Let's talk about some names for Brian then, wide receiver wise.
Brian's a little bit higher in the community. Like I think the names that you were talking about with Najee are the players that you can get. Like I think the Terrys, I think the Chris Godwins, I think you're gonna be getting a little less of an upside when it comes down to Najee Harris specifically.
Okay, well, we did just see a trade go down in one of the guy. We just saw Najee go for Godwin. But I hear you.
It just depends on the league, and how people value him. You know, like,
yeah, I would ideally,
because of Najee.
I'd ideally try and turn Brian into, like, it's gonna sound crazy, but like people are very low on Stephon Diggs right now. I'd be super open. I'm not saying a straight up trade would get that done, but I think, you know, he's wide receiver 27 on Keep Trade Cut right now. He's not considered a top 15 wide receiver in Dynasty according to the community. George Pickens is someone you could look at. I think that's realistic with either of those names, depending on what the other owner thinks. Deebo Samuel's an older player, but he is producing right now. I don't know what your league thinks about Jaden Reed. That might be a little too high. Same with T. Higgins. That's probably too high. But again, just throwing out like ceiling home run names that you could at least start a conversation around and see what it would cost. Even JSN, like JSN underperformed. I would be super interested in adding JSN to this team.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's a lot of wide receivers that you can pivot to. It's just going to depend on how your league is going to value these running backs like Brian Robinson.
Madison could be the perfect team to start a negotiation with, by the way. They've got Christian Watson, Keenan Allen, Devontae Adams, DK, JSN, Amon-Ra. Can you get JSN off of him? Their running back room, I don't think Swift's back in Philly personally. And honestly, even if he is, he was awful the second half of the year. Not even close to a startable asset. I wonder if I can look up exactly what that looked like. I mean, it was really bad. It was really bad for a time there. But anyway, I bet you this guy's looking to add a running back. Hey, let's start a conversation with Brian or Najee. How can I get JSN off you? Okay, JSN's too much. What if I add, one of my second round picks and we look at, a DK Metcalf potentially? Just ideas I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that. I like those opportunities and those players. Deontay, I'm trying to think who else we can add at the wide receiver room that I think is low key. I'm really big on. I'm not really big. I'm a big believer in Jerry Jeudy. I'm not saying you. I think if anything, you can get more Jerry Jeudy and plus for someone like a Brian Robinson and Najee Harris. Okay. What about a Christian Kirk? That's a really exciting name. He was a real pivotal part this year, even with Calvin Ridley being there. So I feel really confident in someone like that as well.
I think you could also afford to add some vets. Like Hollywood Brown, I think, is probably the best name I could even mention right now to go after for this team.
100%.
A guy who's going to enter free agency, no idea where he's going to land up, but probably going to get a bag. He comes to mind for sure.
I completely agree. You know, you think of the names like I said, I think Calvin Ridley. I don't think you said Brian Robinson or Najee maybe for them, but like you can also try and acquire them.
Would you let's say your second first ended up being the 206? Would you send that for Hollywood? Because I feel like I would do that with this team.
The 206, no. The 206 or the 106?
Well, why would I say the 106?
I heard I'm just double checking, but
the 206.
The 206, I would be interested, in Hollywood Brown, absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's something that you could potentially look at. Now, obviously, a lot of these hypotheticals, we won't have answers until you actually do your lottery. But Daniel says he said, I really like Josh Downs. Is it crazy to go out and ask to try and trade Najee for Downs in a third? So here's the deal. Like, a third is not really going to make a huge impact on your roster. Downs, man, I'll be honest, I have no idea where I stand. I think he's a good player, but all the concerns we had about Anthony Richardson as a passer before the year are still there. We have not had any of those questions answered. He completed under 60% of his passes. There was inconsistencies. He's a great athlete, but we still do not know how he can support multiple fantasy wide receivers. So
Josh Downs really didn't take off until Gardner Minshew, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's why I think he got on the map. And why we were saying, well, Josh Downs could be really exciting. It's a tough one when it comes down to Downs. I think you have to take chances. I think Josh Downs is somebody you could take a chance on, but just be ready for that to not be.
Yeah. He wouldn't be someone that I would be like, okay, my wide receiver room is good now. I know I can rely on him. Mm-hmm. Clearly there's upside, but there's still a lot of unanswered questions with him. Daniel says, should I try and sell A-Rich and get another top 6 lottery pick if possible? No, I would keep A-Rich. Your team needs him. Your team needs him. And, in a SuperFlex format, you're going to need at minimum A-Rich and whatever other quarterback you get. So, no, I don't think I would be doing that personally. Keep A-Rich. Pair him up with one of those quarterbacks. Ideally, honestly, dude, I wouldn't even be opposed. If Jonathan Taylor brought me a superstar, I would rock with Javonte, Bryan, and Najee. I know we just traded for JT, but I'm not at all opposed to making a bigger move like that at the wide receiver spot, because I'd rather have my strengths at wide receiver anyway. But if you could get could you send a JT for a Rice plus a piece or something? Could you send him for DJ Moore plus something? People are way too low on DJ Moore in Dynasty rankings. It's ridiculous. He should be a top 12 consensus, and he's not anywhere.
No, he's not.
Could you send JT for Pittman plus something? JT for London plus even more right now. Could you go get Nico Collins? Oh, you have Tank Dell, so you probably don't want to do that. But an Ayuk maybe. I don't know. I mean, just throwing out names. But there's a couple routes you can go. If you sell JT, you're going to get a higher profile wide receiver in return. If you sell Najee or Bryan, you're going to get flex startable options that are vets, But either way, even with those second round picks, you have a great opportunity to add a lot of valuable names to this team.
Yeah. I actually really like the JT move, because I think of somebody that potentially could be struggling at the running back position and say, you know what if you pivot down to the running back room? Like, for example, look, this is probably not the best team. Like team 12, he has James Cook and T. Higgins. What if you get James Cook and T. Higgins and send Jonathan Taylor?
Right.
I feel like that's
I'd be fine
that's
with
an even trade. Yes.
Yeah, good.
Go ahead.
No, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, you can do something like that to where you can pivot and still get a 2-for-1 type of deal, but still grow with your team. Like with James Cook, who just finished as a top 12 running back, T. Higgins, who most likely is going to get signed either somewhere else or still stay with Joe Burrow. So that can be a pathway as well. Like you can see team 2,
I was even going to say
season.
team 11. They have Monty, Charbonnet, Rashawn, Aaron Jones. They might feel set, but they could see JT and be like, okay, like let's talk about Chris Olave here. You know, like that's a real possibility. The other team that really came to mind for me was teams 3 and 4, which I think you were about to talk about. And specifically team 3, they've got a lot of top tier wide receivers. People are very low on Garrett Wilson right now. Can you send JT plus something for Garrett Wilson? That would change your world.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely would be looking into that, a 2-for-1 type of deal, like Josh Jacobs and Jordan Addison. Well, maybe not Jordan Addison, but
yeah.
Well, maybe. What if you send JT and a second or something, and you send Josh Jacobs and Jordan Addison?
Not a bad idea. I think if I'm sending JT away though, I need a more solidified answer than Jordan Addison.
That's fair. Like, you know, you look at these names and ways that you can pivot. Same thing, like you said, earlier, DJ Moore. People aren't valuing him. Send him. Send Jonathan Taylor away.
You could probably get more for JT than just DJ Moore, just based off what the community says. Like I wouldn't do it personally, and there's probably people in leagues who wouldn't either. But based off where the community
I don't understand how the people don't value DJ Moore high.
I don't,
especially with everyone expecting Caleb Williams to go to the Bears.
Yeah, now
he's going to skyrocket. Doesn't make sense.
DJ Moore is my wide receiver 8 in my Dynasty rankings.
Yeah, he's gonna skyrocket.
On Keep Trade Cut, he's wide receiver 15. On Flock Fantasy Community rankings, he's the wide receiver. Jeez, where is he? Am I missing something? I mean, this is you guys who watch us, who contribute to these rankings. Wide receiver 20? Come on. That's insane. So yeah, I love a JT DJ Moore deal, but you could get more for JT than just DJ Moore in a lot of people's eyes. But let's start here. You don't move Dell. You don't move Rice on the wide receiver room. But anyway, I don't know why I said let's start. We're pretty much wrapping up. Daniel, do you have any last questions for us? In summation, you want to take a quarterback with that top 6 first-round pick. With the other 2 firsts or the other 2 seconds that you're going to have, I would be looking at adding wide receiver depth and ideally Jatavion Sanders to add to your tight end spot. What we want to do is we want to navigate either Brian or Najee into a startable wide receiver or JT into a star wide receiver. And then I think you're in a great spot. Yeah?
Yeah.
While we're waiting to see if Daniel has any last questions, we did get a super chat from the Real Dirty Dan. He says Allen in the 108 or Stroud 104 and Puka. Stroud the 104 and Puka by far.
Agreed. 1,000% agree.
Daniel says, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Once those lottery picks get ironed out, I'll get to work. And keep in mind, of course, you have your fancy hotline. Whatever moment, you decide to use it is up to you. Okay. Jonah's in the chat, so maybe we'll do Jonah. I'm not sure we're going to get to Shades today, but let's finish off on Jonah.
Yeah, we'll finish Jonah's off today, and then we can get back to you guys, the rest of the people, next week.
Yes. So let's go ahead and add his sleeper ID here, and let's find out what his team name is. Gonna take a lot of love. Okay. Let's get some context just before we do. Again, guys, if you do want your team reviewed by us on a live stream, super simple. All you need to do is sign up to the Flock Fantasy website with our promo code LAND. Make sure you choose the Mother Flocker tier, and you will unlock the Dynasty roster submissions tab, which you'll see right here. everyone gets one team reviewed, and you also get so many other perks. It's ridiculous the amount of perks that you get. One of those including our Dynasty Rookie Report, which will continually update throughout the offseason as well. But team name, where it's going to take a lot of love, is a team name, I believe.
Yeah, going to take a lot of love. Team name from Jonah. It says 12-team SuperFlex, no tight end premium. So just finished third this year. Most recent move was trading Chase for Garrett Wilson and Jordan Love, and were turned into the 211. So not bad.
Wow. Well done.
With Jordan Love, the way that was a big risk at the time, I would say. But Jordan Love really panned out for you at the moment. Draft picks for the 24, 110, 210, 211, 310, 34. Kind of lost on where to go to improve the team. Didn't think I have a shot at the chip this year, and then won 8 straight to finish regular season. You love to see it.
I love teams like that where you're not even thinking about competing, and then you make it into the playoffs and you start winning. That happened to me in the Kilo League this year. I started 2-6, made the playoffs, somehow won it. Baker Mayfield, my starting quarterback. Those teams are my favorite, where there's no expectations and you end up going far.
I hear you.
But it looks like we've got a good team to work with. We don't have a ton of draft capital, but the good news is we didn't lose our draft capital to go all in on a team either.
Exactly.
Let's just say first off,
really exciting.
This trade, looking at it right now, you murdered this trade. Well done. Can we get some thumbs up and some claps for Jonah in the chat, because he killed it.
Yeah, I mean,
he said my team name was SOS Caleb Williams for the first 8 weeks of the season. So he is 4th in power rankings. And let's have a look at the squad. Keeping in mind, again, it's a SuperFlex start 10. And there's no tight end premium.
No tight end premium here. And at the quarterback position, obviously you made it finish 3rd with Jordan Love, Matthew Stafford. Jake Browning, I think, was a huge addition, I would say, and Joe Flacco to your playoff push. Yeah, to your playoff push, which really
not guys that you're going to be rely upon at all anymore, though. But
going into next year, so at the moment, it looks like your 2 starting quarterbacks going into 2024 would be Jordan Love and Matthew Stafford. So look, it looks like Jordan Love is your QB1, or however way you want to put it, as your QB2. He is your pillar, one of your pillar foundation at the quarterback position. Maybe in one of these picks in 2024, you could potentially get a quarterback. And I see you have the 110. Very similar to somebody else that we talked about. You have to hope one of these quarterbacks go in the 2nd round, the Bo Nix, the J.J. McCarthy, the Michael Penix. Because if they land in a favorable spot with a decent draft capital, that 110 could be a game changer for you.
Yeah, you kind of have to hope
at the quarterback position.
They're either late 1st round picks or really early 2nds like Will Levis. Because then you could take a shot. But at the same time, I don't hate starting my season with Love and Stafford. I don't think that's an awful. So it's not as big of a need as the other team, but you absolutely could add another quarterback with that pick, because let's be honest, flat outside of all these names, Stidham is the only one who has a chance to start next year, and it's very unlikely.
Yeah, exactly.
At running back though, Badaki, not a lot.
This is where it kind of gets really. This is, I would say, this is the weakest point.
And that's fine when you're not expecting to compete. It's fine to have a running back room that looks like this anyway. Because look at his wide receivers and tight ends. I mean, he's got strengths in the right areas when we're looking at building a team.
Yeah, I completely agree here, and I think one of the biggest things coming into this year is maybe trying to build at the running back room coming in potentially a little bit more. And I'll start off here. Maybe one of these guys at the tight end position could be somebody you can try and sell. Most likely TJ Hawkinson with his value to get a running back. But I'm not sure how much we want to invest in a running back room for someone like a TJ Hawkinson, who is a pillar at the tight end position. Personally, because you do have the 210 to 211. That's a kind of a sweet spot at the moment where some of these running backs can go. Braylon Allen's, Blake, Jonathan Brooks, all these other
Draft
guys. So I was
will determine that.
100%. It's a bit difficult to try and. I think to keep you on the same trajectory to compete, I think veteran running backs are your key here.
I agree.
Potentially.
I think your best route is best player available at the 110. If that's a wide receiver, a quarterback, Brock Bowers, it doesn't matter. I think you go BPA. But then at the 210 and the 211, I'd be willing to go out, and you probably shouldn't do this right now. You should at least wait until free agency. But does James Conner come back and start for that team? Perfect. Alvin Kamara, where does he go? Perfect. Joe Mixon. Those are the kind of names that you want to add with those selections.
100%. Because that's what's going to really help you. Because if you can get one of those veteran running backs, Derrick Henry, where does he go? Because if you can send, let's just say hypothetically, you send at a point in time the 210, the 211 for Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara, and they both land in a spot that are really favorable and they get the workload, you don't have to expect the same old numbers from Joe Mixon and Alvin Kamara. You just have to hope and expect that they give you 10 to 12 fantasy points a game. That is the huge difference that can make for your team going into next year, right?
The good news as well is that you technically have two startable names right now. There's a couple teams that we've looked at where it was like, who the hell do you even start? You could start Warren and Hubbard. Now maybe the Panthers decide to add a running back, and that could really impact your team. But you have two names that you can start. The strength of your team is clearly your wide receivers: Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Waddle, London, Watson. That's a great room. Right now you're working with a baseline. You're a start 10, so you're starting Love, Stafford. You're starting Warren, Hubbard. You're starting Amon-Ra, Wilson, Waddle, London, Watson, Hawkinson, right? Or you could even take Watson out for Jake Ferguson and start one of those tight ends. But you're in a good position where you already have a lot of your bases covered. You just need to add quality specifically to the running back position. Now, let me ask you, Badaki.
I agree.
The 110, probably in our estimation, who knows what happens with the NFL draft? Maybe Benson becomes worth it. Maybe there's another running back that becomes worth the 110. But if you were to maneuver that 110 into a running back instead, what are names that you'd be looking to trade the 110 away for in return?
At the running back position specifically, I think the names that we kind of hinted on: James Conner. What about Jerome Ford?
No, that I don't
know.
even know.
I don't know. It
start.
Might be too much. Brian Robinson, I feel like his value is a little bit higher than that, obviously.
See, I wouldn't even want to send the 110 for Brian Robinson right now. I think Rachaad White is like
110. Sorry, I thought you said 210.
No, the 110.
The 110. Okay, yeah. So you're thinking Rachaad? I'm thinking more like, what about David Montgomery?
I don't think he would cost that much, even though he's in a great spot.
You think he would cost less than the 110?
I think so.
Okay, interesting. That is somebody I'm willing to trying to acquire. I think Dave Montgomery is going to be amazing.
I think right now is the wrong time to. Now that I'm thinking about it, I know I posed a question. It's probably the wrong time to move the 110 for a running back, because you're getting in that range of guys we're not comfortable with. We don't know what is going to happen. Like, if I could do it for Kyron and take the shot, I would do it, but that's not going to happen. You could risk it on Saquon. That might be worth it. There are some people, Badaki, and I'm not saying this is the case in this league, because we don't know the people in this league. There are some people who are so low on Travis Etienne, it's scary. Like, we have seen him go for the 108, the 110. It's crazy. So even if you package the 110 and the 211 or something, package freaking Jake Ferguson and the 110. I don't know. Do Hawkinson in both seconds. I'm not saying that it will get done, but he's a name that you could definitely look at, and he's one of those names I'm comfortable to actually go out and get right now. I think he is one of those, in that list of names that will skyrocket in value the closer we get to the 2024 season. But
yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree.
But yeah, again, you have great foundation.
Other people. Yeah, great foundation, 100%.
Jonah said, arguably, I don't think the Panthers are interested in another running back. They brought in Sanders, who fell apart. Why try again? No, I don't disagree with that. I think you probably have, a good spot here with Hubbard. It's just, again, we have no idea what that team will do at all. Think about it. I mean, a new coach could be everything for that running back room. I actually like running this system. Remember, guys, I wasn't big on Dameon Pierce, but a big reason why he didn't succeed in that offense is because the offense wasn't built around a running back like him, So anything can happen. But Jonah says, as soon as the dispersal draft is over, I'll try Etienne for the 110. Yeah. Crazy that, and I know it wasn't as consistent as people would want it to be, but it's insane to me that the running back who just finished as the RB3 overall in fantasy, is that right? Is so cheap. And he was a first round pick.
RB8 right now. Is there RB8 currently in the community at the moment? Going to keep trade cut.
And you're not going to get a running back anywhere near his talent at the 110 in this draft. It won't be close.
Yeah.
Won't be in the same stratosphere.
It won't be in the same.
But
look, I hear you.
He has a ton of flexibility with this roster. He really does.
Yeah, you do, which is really good and really exciting, because if it doesn't work out the way for your actual and rookie draft, then you can easily go out and pivot, like we said, to get veteran running backs, which is also exciting. So keep that in mind. Be ready to pivot however way you need to when it comes down to these guys, because if Trey Benson gets a favorable landing spot with the draft capital, he might be somebody you can consider at the 110. Yeah. With how good your wide receiver room is. Same thing with Jonathan Brooks. If these guys get second round draft capital, they go to the Green Bay Packers. We've seen that a lot with Trey Benson and Travion Henderson, right? So if that does happen, Aaron Jones is officially gone, hypothetically. That is a huge pillar for your team right there.
Yeah.
So
that's it for today. But of course, we're going to leave a couple seconds here. Jonah, if you have any final questions, let us know. In summation, your team's in a very good spot. You have so much flexibility with this roster. You built it right. Wide receivers, quarterbacks, tight ends. You got a little lucky with the Jordan Love trade. But you built it the right way. The 110 you can use on a running back if there becomes one worthy. You can use it on a quarterback 3 if there becomes one worthy. Or you can even go wide receiver or tight end if Brock Bowers is there. Those late seconds, ideally, we want to turn those in to veteran running backs to compete. At the 310 and the 410, just go best player available, and get a my guy, get a guy that you like on your roster, and see what happens. But yeah, you are only a couple moves away, a couple draft picks away from seriously competing in this league. And I was thinking about players that you should sell high. There's not really a name. The only name that would come to mind would be Jake or TJ, just because you don't need both of them.
Both of them, yeah.
And London's a buy low. Watson, you could say, is a buy low. Same for Waddle. And you don't sell, Wilson or Amon-Ra. So, yeah. Jonah says, should I be looking to trade someone like Waddle, Watson, Robinson in a pick to grab a running back? I'm certainly not opposed to it. Wandale and Watson are not going to give you much return right now. If I knew at the 110 you're getting Brian Thomas, then we can look at adding a superstar running back instead of Waddle on the team. But it's also not like a necessity. I'd rather be strong at wide receiver and get veteran running backs than the other way around. So
yeah, I would agree there. The only person I would be happy to move would be Waddle, and that's just me pivoting.
Sure.
You know, can I get a Chris Olave? Can I get a Rashee Rice and a little bit more? You know,
I do
like,
actually love that idea of like going from Waddle to Rice plus something.
yeah,
I do really love that idea.
That's kind of how I'm seeing. Or what about DJ Moore, who is not viewed in the same light at the moment?
If I could get DJ Moore in anything for Waddle, I mean, that would be awesome.
I think because a lot of people value Waddle.
We have to keep in mind, though, there is a chance that they do go Marvin Harrison, and that won't hurt DJ Moore, but it wouldn't make him the unquestioned number one. But
look, the only reason why I feel like you should know that, though, I hope we know that by that time, because Justin Fields gets traded to whatever team, it's Caleb. Justin Fields has not been traded. The chances of them drafting Caleb is still there. But, like, it's like, okay, like, are you not getting the value that you want for Justin, or you're just going to have two quarterbacks on the roster?
You've got flexibility.
Yeah, you do have flexibility. Yeah. So,
but
yeah.
That's probably it for today, guys. Jonah, thank you so much for the support, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Again, anyone's team that we reviewed today, the Fantasy Hotline is there in case you do end up having any more questions. And to anyone else watching who does want their team reviewed, again, use our promo code LAND, sign up to the Flock Fantasy website, make sure you're on the Mother Flocker tier. You'll get one of these team reviews yourself. And man, there's so much over there on the website, guys. Not only do you get our rookie reports, you get all of our rankings, you get the trade calculator, the trade finder. We just got prospect rankings as well that we uploaded. I mean, you know, for people who are on the Mother Flocker membership, you can actually see a new little tab that breaks down a player, which is really cool. We're always adding new features to the website. But that's it for today, guys. We appreciate you. Of course, Jonah, no worries. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. All love.